COVID-19 immunization policy applies to healthcare staff, which includes ambulance services. It also applies to education and childcare workers, as well as staff at congregate care settings and post-secondary institutions.
Employees and others in these sectors to either provide a proof of full vaccination against COVID-19, provide a documented medical reason for not being vaccinated. In addition, covered organizations will be required to offer an educational session about the benefits and risks of COVID-19 vaccination.
And people who don't provide proof of vaccination will be tested regularly. Dr. Kieran Moore says how often people are tested will depend on the risk in the community, and at a minimum, it would be once a week. When CHCH News asked why this took so long, Moore says there was an unexpected drop in immunization rates.
We had a sudden drop-off over the last several weeks, and quite honestly, we have to re-bolster our efforts to immunize Ontarians.
The head of the Ontario Council of Hospital Unions says this policy is great news.
Obviously, in healthcare, we already have a problem with staff shortages, particularly in long-term care, but as much in the hospitals.
And he says losing more staff could be a disaster.
We've seen in some other health facilities which imposed the more dramatic, everybody's got to get vaccinated rule. They lose about 5% of their staff.
But the Ontario Long-Term Care Association says they asked the government to fully mandate vaccines for direct care providers. Karen Littlewood, the head of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation, says it's positive news, but she's concerned that the burden falls on the school boards now.
Boards are going to have to know who's vaccinated and who isn't. So they're going to have to be staff in place. They're going to have to track that data. There's going to be an education component for those who are not going to be vaccinated. Who's going to deliver that? How is it going to be delivered? So many questions.
Moore says the province is also discussing an immunization strategy for students.
Typically, if we follow the Immunization of School Pupils Act, which is in place in Ontario, it would just mandate that students, parents report the immunization status of their children and or take an educational module. So we're reviewing that.
And Littlewood says making it part of the vaccination program, which uses the familiar yellow card to track a wide variety of vaccinations, may give some people peace of mind. Manisa Danabalan, CHCH News.